pleasure and privilege to be in this seminar. We've had a lot of online seminars, and I think being in person, interacting in person will add a lot of value. And we look for a lot of interactivity which is there. The topic for today is building a stable and sustainable roadmap for the Indian two-wheeler EV industry. That's the topic we're discussing. We've got a very distinguished panel. They already introduced Mr. Sindhu Sharma from Okinawa. He has over 2 decades, he was in the corporate world for 2 decades, and then the entrepreneur bug hit him, and now he's one of the largest manufacturers of wheelers. So please give a big hand to Mr. Sindhu Sharma. On my left is Mr. Sohinder Singh Gill. He's a veteran of the auto industry. Somebody introduced me as a veteran. I would say a real veteran is Mr. Sohinder Gill. Wide experience. If I call you as the Bishop Pitama of the auto industry, I hope you will take it as a compliment. So please give a big hand to the Bishop Pitama of the auto industry, Mr. Sohinder Singh Gill. And then we have Mr. Deshmukh. Mr. Deshmukh is a person who's been part of the technology and the evolution of the auto industry from 1975. So, sorry, I'm mentioning your age. In some way, people can calculate. And I think he's the Chief Technology Officer, Group Chief Technology Officer of Sona Comstar. And Sona Comstar has had a phenomenal run. Great IPO, was just one of the icing on the cake, which was last year. And last but not the least is the young Turk amongst us, who's youngest of this. He's from the Manmohan Singh era. We are from the pre-Nehru era, but he's from the Manmohan Singh era. And Nishlej Mishra, and he's the promoter of Green Tech, and that's a company which is making great waves already. So we're discussing on the topic, but before we start discussing, only one thing I'd like to say is we would like a lot of interactivity, so I'm keeping the last 12-13 minutes for question answers. So please, as the discussion unfolds, you can note down your questions, and we'll try to have at least 6 to 7 questions from this distinguished panel. Now, looking at the two-wheeler industry, EV two-wheeler industry, I mean, the two-wheeler industry has always been a big industry in India, largest industry in the country, and it touched something to the volume of nearly 20 million at one point in time. Today it's about 13 million, 14 million. And EV two-wheeler, a lot of people had doubts of that came 2-3 years back. Hardly 40,000 vehicles, we were 2 years behind. And last year, the volume was somewhere about 2.5 lakhs. And if the asking rate of the last 6 months is taken, it is about 40 to 45,000 a month. And this is in spite of supply constraints. I'm sure the demand is much more. I just like to turn back. There's an old saying that those who don't learn by history stand condemned by it. So just take some history. But there's a converse saying that if you follow history blindly, you also stand condemned by it. So we take the best of both. If you look at it, 2021 April, May, and we'll take the clock more than 1 year back. COVID was there. The EV two-wheeler, the FAME policy which the government had introduced with a lot of cargo in 2019, and was talking of 10 lakh two-wheelers. Somehow it was not making an impact which was required. And there were also a lot of tailwinds which were there. But I think there was something which started from last week. First was the government's announcement that they re-looked at the FAME 2 policy, and the incentive which they gave the customers, which was 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour, was increased by 50%. And the policy which was applicable to 2022 came to 2023. That was one move. The second move was a lot of state governments taking the cue probably from Delhi government, whether it's Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, they moved into the top tier, and they also started giving a certain incentive package or incentive to customers for purchasing electric two-wheelers. And that was also an additional one. Third was the government made a lot of announcements, and a lot of investment was earmarked for production-linked incentive, in which EV was an important component of it, and also the advanced industry. So all these things were there. And the last but not the least was, there was this challenge, which was clearly when the FAME 2 policy came out, they said a lot of focus will be given on the charging infrastructure, but nothing much had happened in 2 years. Everybody got into the overdrive mode, whether it was the people who were already there, part of the system, private players, independent players, government push. So all these developments happened, and then we got that momentum to the industry. So that's where we stand today. But having said that, we have come a long way, but there's a long, long way to go. Even we take today's figure of the electric two-wheelers, they hardly contribute 3 to 4% of the electric two-wheeler market. And if I look at the aspirations या उम्मीदें बोलते हैं, aspirations, they are talking of figures are being talked. In 7 years we should be 18 million, 15 million. So we have a long way to go. How do we build this sustainable map? That's something which we have to look at it. From a customer perspective, I will keep a top of 5 R's which are important. Probably my learned panelists might have a different view. One is the right price. Right price also includes the right financing because that's an integral part of thing. Then is range of the vehicles, whether they run 80 kilometers on charge, 100, 120. Reach of the network, reassurance, which is peace of mind, and reliability. So these are factors which are important part of it. But having said that, let's come straight to the experts. And Mr. Gill, we'll just take the initial start because first we would like to discuss what do you think, where do we stand today? We will be discussing the major part, what we need to do for tomorrow. But in the last 6 months, if I have to take a snapshot from January 2022 to say July 2022, what has happened in the industry from all aspects? So 3 to 4 minutes from each of the panelists. This is a warming up session and then we move fast forward to the future.
Thank you, Arun. Before today I talked of yesterday. You talked of 1 year, I talked of 15 years.
Okay, kal aaj aur kal. We talk of the kal past, which is there.
Just to tell what happened in the last 15, 20 years and suddenly what happened yesterday. Differences. When some of us started business 15 years back, we spotted an opportunity looking at China and looking at those vehicles. And from there, I think at some point of time, 70 of the business owners, they went there, bought things, sold in India. Some made business, some made quick money. And in the end, the customers suffered quite a bit. Because through that churning process, there was no regulation, there was no certification, and it was free for all. And even the promises made by so-called business owners or dealers was pani pe chalti hai, free mein chalti hai, type of a thing. No license, no registration. It was a mad rush. So it had to suffer through that on the pinnace of growth. And for many years, it was struggling. Also, I would say quality industries, people in the administration, they don't have light. They should have been taking stock of that situation at that point of time, doing something immediately to curb or channelize, but nothing happened. Till the time realization came in 2015 or so that, okay, something needs to be done. And there on the seeds started. And there again, some of us maybe sitting in the room who are on the other side of the dirty fuel, they sort of swatted like a fly all the initiatives of electric mobility with a heavy hand because their businesses were at stake. So this push and pull went on till around 2 years back. And all the initiatives which were announced by the government, which was so important because electric mobility cannot sustain on its own initially. It has to have some sort of intervention of outside. So then came the realization that everything that businesses are talking, whether they are doing the electric vehicle business or not doing electric vehicle business, the sense prevailed that this is the direction. The direction was very clear. India is price sensitive. India is a market of affordable products but reliable products. It's not cheap products, not low cost products. But nobody is going to pay the price of what otherwise an alternative will be able to give the customer, whether it is a car or it's a scooter or whatever you produce. So first things first, you have to somehow be in the price segment of hitting range of changing over. No amount of convincing of running cost advantage, total cost of ownership, maintenance will do anything for the first few million vehicles before it sets into your brain that yes, it really makes sense to pay more. With that, came this thought of, okay, how can the industry do something more than what they are doing and what can the government do? Obviously, both of them pitched in and the result came. And imagine, it was just addition of 7,500 to 10,000 per vehicle or whatever they were giving. But sometimes there's a trigger point. And that trigger point made it happen, what Arun is saying, that what happened from May was people sitting on the fence with a lot of questions, very little of adoption, but much of interest also. Also looking into the past of negativity and looking at the seriousness of government and state governments. That tipped the whole balance. And when the balance tips, obviously it can tilt anyway. And there it came. The things that started happening, the stimulus from the government and state government was a sort of a running race for everybody else to pitch in. Supply chain especially. which was silent, not at all investing, suddenly realized that, oh, we are late. We have to do something about it. That was the missing link all the way. That's why people were importing him. So this 2-3 things I'm saying are the factors. Supply chain started happening, government incentives happening, people jumping into it, better quality products, and convincing and making people aware, customers aware that now it's a serious business.
So, one thing which Shikil mentioned is, it was baptism by fire. So you were the Rana Sangha, you must have many wounds of that time in your chest or in your mind. And he said that there's a certain inflection point which has now hit the running, whether it's the supply chain with customers and also with visitors. Coming to Jitendra, you started the journey in 2015. I'm sure EV was nowhere in anybody's mind at that point of time, at least not in the, maybe in your mind. You, 2015-20 is one scenario which Mr. Gill has touched upon. From your perspective, what is happening on the ground in the last 1 year, which is something which there may be positives also from your perspective?
So when we talk about this building a stable and sustainable roadmap for electric vehicle industry, first of all we have to understand what is the market size of India. If you see in 2019 somewhere it is around 20 or 21 million odd vehicles were sold in India, and this year the IC was sold around 13 or 14 million vehicles. It means there is already a vacuum of 7 million vehicles already there. It means the customer is there, they want to buy the product, and that is one of the reason. Of course, there is a 2 years for the COVID period. So everybody was struggling in the business or maybe personal level, everybody was struggling. But we have to understand the population of 1.3 billion people in India. So our penetration of the two-wheeler, not two-wheeler, electric, the two-wheeler is hardly 25 to 27%. It means there is a scope of big scope for everyone to survive in the market, and that is one of the reasons. If you see in the last 1 year, there is a lot of scope is coming for EV because of the many reasons. Of course, if you see any business, there is some stakeholders. In our case, there is a stakeholder starting from the policymaker, then we talk about our suppliers, supply chain, and of course the OEM, then we talk about our dealers, and finally the customer, who has to own this vehicle. So for the customer, the most important thing is the trust of a brand, trust of a product. That is more important. So if you see in the last 1 year, whatever the policy maker have bring lots of policy, whether it's related to the central incentive, related to the FAME to increase from 10,000 rupees per kilowatt to 15,000. Second, of course, the state policy they bring. So the total cost of the ownership of the vehicle, it seems to be lower as compared to the IC engine. So finally, the customer, end of the day, they want the economics benefit of the EV if they want to try that vehicle. And second thing is the technology. If the good product is available in the market, why they will not go for it? So if you see in the last 1 year, there is a lots of good product is available in the market. Awareness is there, because awareness is one of the key parameter for the electric vehicles to promote more and more. Because till 1 year back or maybe 2, 3, 5 years back, awareness was not there. Product was there, but awareness was not there. Because of the policy maker, because of the OEM was not spending too much money on the marketing, and of course the customer confidence. So there is a few things which has bring more and more confidence on the customer side, because end of the day, customer is the person who is going to buy your product, nobody else. If the customer have the faith, they have the confidence on your product, on this technology, they will go for it. And of course the technology is changing day by day. Now this vehicle is become more, not electric, even more electronic vehicle. There is a lots of technology, innovation is going on these parameters related to the, if you see on the component side, like the powertrain or something, of course from the vehicle side. Because if you see lots of feature which is available in the EV is not available in the IC engine, in the two-wheeler. Because everybody, I think in this room who is there, everybody is seen from there when we born, we see only IC engine. We know only about the IC engine. But this technology has come up in the last few years, and but this technology is changing very fast, and that is one of the reason people is go for it. And of course, there is the other reason is the, you can say the government push for the, you can say Paris Agreement, because of the COP26. People understand that our Prime Minister has already signed those agreements. We understand we have to go for by 2070. We have to be net zero. So there is a lots of other factors which is going to boost the EV. And as a stakeholder, as a OEM, our duty is to give the right product, as you said, is a 4R. So we have to get the good quality product at the right cost, and your product positioning is in that way the people can compare your EV with the better than IC vehicle. I think this will work.
So, Mr. Jimmy, you mentioned a very interesting thing. The market had touched 20 billion. Today it's 30. So you say there's a vacuum of 7 billion. So do I assume there are 7 billion people who are waiting and watching?
Right, of course.
Yeah, okay. So that's something which is important. And you said is policies, I mean, various stakeholders are bringing it. And what you rightly said is, if the customer does accept it, if the customer, you make all the policies, all the intention of manufacturers, if the customer doesn't get the ring of confidence in his mind, doesn't, and that ring of confidence is coming.
That's very important.
That's a very important thing. So, Mr. Deshmukh, you've seen the industry from the license permit quota Raj of Chakravarti Rajagopalacharya. I'm not saying you were from 1948, but you say the revolution in the auto industry came in 84 and then the liberalization came in 91. I don't want you to get into that area, but looking at using technology, because supply chain is a very critical component of this entire because we don't have the right supply chain. And supply chain means right sourcing, right price, right quality. What do you think has happened in the last 1 year? Does it inspire confidence to you, or you think some major developments happened on that front? Or are we still doing mix and match or just managing? How do you see? And I'm not talking from the perspective of Sona Comstar. You've done a great job. You're exporting to various countries electric components also, I know that. From the industry perspective.
So, I think there has been a problem of supply chain of a different kind, especially for electric vehicles, because there were cheap products coming from China, and these products were very cheap. At the same time, there was no guarantee for those products. The ruggedness, application of those in Indian conditions, there were all questions there. And initially, I think a lot of people fell for those low-cost products, and many suffered. The recent years, what I see is a lot of localization happening, products getting manufactured in India. Of course, there is a push from government for localization, the FAME 2, etc. But we have seen, and I have personally seen that unless, like Mr. Gill also said, that while Indian market is highly price sensitive, it is also something which looks for reliability. And reliability is extremely important, because normally somebody who buys a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, he looks for ownership for a long duration of time. It's not that I'm going to use it for a few years and then change it over. So reliability is very highly required in Indian conditions. At the same time, price sensitivity. So these two challenges have to be met, and they can be met only when you localize, when you manufacture in India. So slowly, I think the supply chain will get smoothed.
So you think the confidence is coming that in terms of localization?
Absolutely.
And the large companies which were fence sitters are now really getting into that,
Absolutely. If you see,
including the startups.
you see, even large companies, I talk about auto component industry, many companies supplying to ICE vehicles, right, whether two-wheelers or four-wheelers. And they know the future. Everybody knows the future. And for their sustainability, they have to switch. They can't continue to be in the same old state of manufacturing.
Coming to Niklesh, the heart of the EV is the battery. And that is one thing, fuel cells, batteries, motors. Somehow there's a feeling that we are not going to become self-dependent on batteries in the near future. So we will be returning back to the East India Company, like what we did to China, which is a thing. And your company has made a major foray in battery. They're not only your company. Do you think this ecosystem will change that rather than the last 1 year? Has it changed for the good from a battery perspective? There are a lot of components of their cells and technology, type of electrolytes, the way they're packed, the various systems are part of it. Has it really changed in the last 1 year? Or still we are saying that we're just riding the wave?
Let's start from the point of what all is there in a battery, right? When we talk about a battery, we generally talk about three level of value addition, right? You talk about raw material. When I say raw material, I'm talking about the anode material, cathode, separator, etc. That's one level. There are companies making that and they add certain amount of value. Then you come one level up, you talk about cell manufacturers. They take those raw material, put in a lot of technical efforts in that actually, and then they come up with the cells. There are a lot of companies doing that. And then comes the second, the third part, which is taking those cells, putting in all the electronics, mechanical, the BMS, that is the electronics, but not only that, the mechanical, the thermal parts of that and all, and then you come up with a battery. That is the third level, right? Roughly all these three levels adds almost equal percentage of value addition. Roughly. So we generally call it around 35, roughly. So that is the first part. The third part doesn't really need any raw material which we don't have. You are talking about electronics component, and the ICs come from outside. That is true for more or less everywhere in the world because it comes from a very small place in the world. But apart from that, everything else, your plastics, your all the component, metals and all, we all have that. So that last 35% of the value addition is the easiest one to do, and that's what we are doing, right? So that part is sorted, and that is still adds around 35% of the value. Then comes the next part, which is your cell, and to make the cell, you need your anode material, cathode material, and all the things. That is where it gets tricky. And most interesting part is that the moment you talk about lithium ion, people will start thinking about, okay, we don't have lithium, so what? Lithium actually is a very small percentage in a lithium ion battery, barely 2 or 3%. That's all.
Also value.
In terms of value also actually, and in terms of mass also. So in a lithium ion battery, your concern actually is not lithium. Unfortunately, what is your concern? We don't have that also. So your concern is actually nickel, manganese, copper, aluminium. These are your concerns. There are much more in a lithium ion battery than a lithium carbonate basically. We are not actually good with nickel and manganese, others also. Iron we are good with. Copper again we are not good with. But point is that it's not lithium. That is first thing to understand. And others we are anyway have a source in place. We have our source for copper, we have our source for nickel, etc. So that all is there. Lithium is a very small percentage of that, but yes, it is there. We have to take care of that. How I see it changing is that we have to be a global player to fight to get those. You see our.
Then we're talking in the future what we need to do, but today where we stand.
So today actually our volumes have not reached to where we have to be worried about that. We are not there in terms of volumes.
We are not there.
But it is going to change suddenly. And if you are not prepared, we will be in big trouble, like really big trouble.
So very interesting thing Niklesh mentioned. He says that general there is an equation, battery is equal to lithium, lithium is equal to battery, lithium is China, China is not equal to India, so we can't do it. That's a sort of very simplification equation. And he mentioned there are 3 layers to it, one third. And on various things, we have the materials, we have the technology, we are not on the starting board, but it can be done, and that we're discussing in the future. But it is not that we don't have it. So we have to have more ability, confidence, and more investments have coming in. Now we switch gears from the present to the future. This year, how much do you think the volume will be in the electric two-wheelers? And I take from both of you. So मैं उसका average ले लूँगा, because I don't want to put a number this year. Financial year April to March.
Certainly.
6 lakhs, 7 lakhs?
Yeah, I'm optimistic for
7, 8 lakhs.
Between 7 and 8 sure. It could have been more. But for the
What?
supply chain shortage of
7, 8 lakhs.
between 7.
Chidra ji, आपका क्या बात expectation?
I think 1 million.
अरे तो सर 10 लाख तक पहुँच गए तो मुझे
It is not altogether the total 2 million is done.
ना total to the
Yeah.
yeah, that's okay. I used to remember in our days, used to be Amitabh Bachchan movie Trishul, and that dialogue used to be there. जो काम लोगों ने 20 साल में करना किया है, मुझे 1 साल में करना है. We were walking. It was Salim Javed now. That's what he's exemplifying. Please give a big hand for the Salim Javed thought process there. So let's.
Reason for that, because you must have the big dreams. If you have a dream, if you don't have a dream, you cannot accomplish that. So that is very important.
तो सपनों को साकार करना है. ये नहीं करना कि सपने तो सपने होते हैं, किसने इनको साकार किया, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. That's part of it. Anyway, why was taking this figure? You also agree with this figure? 7 lakhs to 10 lakhs. You also agree with this figure this year? Okay. Now the pointing starting point is okay, let's take this figure of 10 lakhs. The most optimistic figure, he was saying 8 lakhs, but he said it could be 10 lakhs if supply chain is not issued. So let's take it 8. which is there. We are talking, Mr. Madhavan is there or he is not there? So Mr. Madhavan gives some figure in the morning, 25 times growth, 15 million. What do you want to reach by 2030? Huh? So 20 times which is there. Now that's a big leap, even for Amitabh Bachchan or a Salim Jalali, from that perspective. So now let's
neglected. So that's why I always make this case that making a battery is after getting the cell. But that is great and that is always there. But when you start talking about millions of units and when you talk about 15 million, which we are talking more than a million a month, you need to have your local sourcing of cell. You can't do it from outside. Not possible. Even more important is if you decide to do it today and you have all the money you want and you have the technical technology availability and all, it still will take you minimum of 18 months to 24 months to set up your plant and start manufacturing. Means if you want to reach 2 years down the line, a million a month, you have to actually start today. And if you don't start it, you are in deep trouble. You can't do that. When I was thinking on this, I actually remembered interacting with someone who is part of, or who is actually the leading member of this NPTEL, the education thing. It was a really nice conversation, not related, but very interesting. They have to plan their university, numbers of universities, seats and everything, not looking at how many people are graduating or going into education. They have to plan it according to how many people are in class 8, right? Because by the time you set up your university, those class 8 students will be in the college.
do you see this sense of urgency which you are highlighting today?
Because there is a...
I agree with you, but do you see on ground this sense of urgency?
It is. Because see, we always think that it will probably increase slowly, everyone plays safe, but it's not like that. If market starts accepting, suddenly you will see there is too much of demand and you can't satisfy that. We are already seeing problems, right? If you want all that 1 billion unit a month, you have to plan a lot of things today so that you can do it 2 years down the line.
Okay. So one very interesting thing is say that what we say, what you want to achieve in 5-7 years. If you don't start acting today, you already lost the race. So some actions have to be taken immediately. And he said the plant, it takes minimum 18-24 months to set the plant, technology to stabilize, test it out from that perspective. And that action has to start now. Now what are the steps of action? And coming to you, Mr. Deshmukh, one is the battery part, and then there are other components which are beyond the battery, starter motors, even we saw the ECU or the controllers and other things. Where do we think, are we on the right path for that?
If you ask about our company, we are going by these numbers.
Okay.
And as everybody knows that you can't start immediately, it takes time to set up the equipment. We already started doing investment, but we
I'm
need
talking from an industry perspective. Your company will be doing because
and I'm sure everybody else is doing same. I think everybody knows that it takes at least 18 months.
but the confidence is there or it's a wait and watch policy?
No, I think now if you wait, then you will lose.
I think that is known, but do you see that sense of urgency?
Yeah, I think.
There's a saying in English that the great leaders are those who have a sense of emergency when there is no urgency. So do you see that emergency situation here?
Absolutely, I think every company which wants to be in the field has to do this, and I'm sure everybody is.
And what is required to be done for this? I mean, what are the role various stakeholders have to play? Because this will not be done by one manufacturer, it has to be done various stakeholders, the government is there, research bodies are there, various things. What are the things you think we should
I think finally bottom line is the consumer has to find the product attractive, for which the cost has to be low. I would say value has to be high, which is highest delivery of the features against lowest cost, for which you need technology and you need manufacturing facilities. So I think companies, and there are a lot of companies already who are doing it, is getting to the right technology for those products, setting up the manufacturing facilities, large volume manufacturing. Unless you do mass production, you can't get the costs which are required. And I think this is a normal formula for anything.
Okay. Coming to you, Mr. Jitendra Sharma, we talked of 8 lakhs figure and we're going to 15 million, 150 lakhs, 20 times we're talking. Now, you not only manufacture two-wheelers, you see the customer perspective, you see the manufacturer perspective. Since you have to buy components from others, you see the supply chain perspective, you see the R&D perspective. If you had a wish list, what are the things which have to start? If you can quantify that, if we have to use the figure. Consumer demand, customer confidence is there. And we said The pitch will not be flat like the market stadium. The pitch will be something like you have in Australia, New Zealand, where the ball sings, swings, everything, and all the signals are involved. I'm talking the customer itself. So, what are from various peoples? What is your expectation?
So first of all, we have to understand that the market is there because if you see in the IC engine, when we talk about 15 millions, Mr. Madhun said, yes. So today also IC engine is also selling the same numbers. There is no incentive. So why no vehicles are still selling? Because it's a need of a customer want the vehicle for their commuting purpose, because we have to understand two things very clearly. All the vehicle which is selling in the market, who is your customer? If you see in the two-wheeler market, mostly 90% customer is our middle class or low middle class family. Because they want in India, especially in India, because India is a cost sensitive market. People understand this vehicle is using for their commuting purpose. It is not for individual person. I will drive myself, but my family will also drive. So they want the same product, they want the right product, they want the cost-effective product. And for this, how we do, like for example, most important thing is the stakeholder in the supply chain. And of course, if you see in India, we already have a good amount of supply chain is already there. Of course, in the IC engine, and all those IC engine suppliers in there already have started. Even not now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. When we started, I still remember when we talked to the suppliers, they said, Mr. Sharma, there is no business at all, there is no volume. But few have them confidence that they are invested today and they are investing for tomorrow, not for today. So I think many people have already started. It is only about the time, maybe it will take another 6 months or 1 year or 1.5 years. Like was Mr. Vishnu said, their company is already started. So it is not only his company, there is another supply chain which is already available in India, they already started this. And of course the government has started the PLI scheme and other benefits. Because the IC engine, when of course as you rightly said, after maybe 2024, the subsidy is going to vanish. Okay, it is not there. And of course maybe 10 lakh vehicles will be sold maybe next year. So I think there is no subsidy as per the government norms. So we have to be made our business model in such a way. Of course the volume will say that this component, when you buy the component from the supplier, it is about the cost reduction from the supplier based on the volumes. And of course, they also understand it is the business for them for the future. They will also, you can say, reduce their margin also. And of course, the PLI scheme is already there for the component level. So for the next 3-5 years, business model is already there. In terms of not from the volume side, of course, from the supplier side. So it is only because of your relationship or your business model with you and your supplier, how you make it and make it finally profitable for the customer. And of course, nobody can stop it, but Mr. Marvin is saying, I'm 200% agree with him. Maybe another 5-7 years, we have to achieve this market.
Mr. Madhun, you got a great supporter votary in front of you. Now, coming to Mr. Gill, you have been part of SMEB and you have been seen from this 360 degree view. So there is a view of the manufacturer, there is a view of the government, there is a view of the supply chain, there is a view of R&D, there is a view of commerce ministry, there is a view of these technology issues. Each player, and there are some bottlenecks clearly. Range we didn't discuss much, that the reach of the network, still charging infrastructure is a challenge. So what are the steps required at various aspects? I'm taking 360 degree. Because it can't happen, because it's like a relay race. If one element of the relay or one person in the entire thing doesn't put the bill or doesn't do the right action, then the whole thing works.
Sure. It's a comprehensive approach, integrated approach, of course, but you see today we have 3%. We are talking about 50, 60, 70% of the viewers in the future. Which means there has to be another trajectory change from where we are today. This type of a conversion may not reach us to that level of aspiration. This means much more needs to go between now and next year. That starts with demand generation, and the rest of things will follow. When we talk about demand generation today, why it is just 3% is because of now. Obviously, it is reach. If you see the concentration of network, it is limited to only 13 to 14 to 15% of Indian soil. And the current players are not able to reach every nook and corner in 3 to 4 years. It is time for the rest of 97% who are producing roads, who are sitting still on the fence, trying to defend their business, to jump in. And they have that muscle power, they have been partners, they have the network, they have everything. They have to have the conviction now that okay, they can also be equal partners in growth, and they can not shed off the petrol bike side, but jump into it. So the first and foremost is this industry is now needing more organized players, big players, guys with decades of expertise and experience to come and join the band. That's the first thing. But the second part is, as everybody is saying, supply chain, which is already having a confidence, but it's a long term. 2 years, 1.5 years, 2 to 3 years. That needs to be catalyzed in a big way. And if I say the big guys will come, then Elsevier will also jump in. So that also triggers this. The third part is, when will the critical mass of vehicles be reached in particular zones when it starts exploding because of word of mouth, which is customer satisfaction. Even today, we have seen recent incidents of unfortunate incidents which have derailed the process of fire, etc. These are sort of things which are kings stop or derail the process. So you get out of the mode of reducing bikes, shortening the cycle to just market them and come out with a very, whosoever is existing player has to stop, pause and think, let's not spoil the market. Let's get even half the customer but very satisfied customer. Because I've seen some of my dealers who have been taking care of the customers with the product that we have at the back end. The sale becomes 5x, 10x, and we are not selling. The customer is selling them. He's like, please buy it. Unless that sets in, that why are you buying petrol? Buy electric. I have bought it for 3 years. I have paid so much of saving. It's so good. So ultimately, one has to see whatever customer base we have to really take care of that. Till the time the product matures to a great quality, we have to have the service of that level that he doesn't feel lost to the third party.
Mr. Gill, you mentioned 2-3 things very important. One, you mentioned that the big players, the big daddies, you will name them for obvious reasons, who are sitting on the sideline and saying, like Lucknow Nawabs, pehle aap, and you are the pehle aap people, but they also have to be the persons who are part of it. Because once they put their money, their resources, then obviously in terms of technology, in terms of the outer things, move on. The second concern which you have raised is that it should happen that in the interest of short-term gains, we sacrifice them on the order of political expediency adopted as a sacrifice because we want to do that. And you mentioned the fires, the quality will be an issue. So there is a saying which, how would you know the term B2B? What is this? You are a very bright person, so you don't know. Consultants always know it, but I'm talking to other people. Back. So business to business or B to customer. I have coined a term today morning, D2D. And this is a term which is more syndrome. I call it Delhi to Daulatabad. Because in 13th century, when Muhammad bin Tughlaq was changing his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad was the right place. It was the center of India. Delhi is too north. I mean, we are sitting in Delhi, but the capital. But the preparation in terms of resources, in terms of water, it was not there, and the army had to be terrific. So one thing which he said, let's not get into the D2D syndrome. Sir, you agree on that? D2D syndrome. Now coming to the battery part, and a lot of people are saying, sir, this range anxiety is a very important thing. I mean, the batteries which are made, one is obviously safety is an important part, cost is an important part, quality is an important part. But the range somewhere gets into double digit. And customers, you may say, no, charging is available, you can do it here, you can do it home. But somehow, 100 kilometer, is there something which can be done on the range thing? So either it's a range issue or in terms of the reach of the network. From a battery manufacturer perspective, how do you see the range thing and quality issue, which Mr. Gill mentioned?
Okay, see, this range is again a very subjective thing. And also keep in mind, when you ask someone something, they will always ask for the moon, right? You ask them what should be the range, they will say, yeah, at least should be 200 kilometers, very easy to say. You give them an option between 100 kilometers and 200 kilometers and give the price. Majority of people will choose 100 kilometers because they actually know that 100 kilometers is more than enough, right? Now, I'm not saying 100% of the time, there will be use cases, but point is, majority of the time, probably 100 kilometers is more than enough. Now, that I'm taking as an example, it could be 90 or 100 or 120. It doesn't matter. The point is that it generally need not to be very long, most of the time. Okay? So, what we have to understand is, if we are selling 22 million two-wheelers a year right now, and the total one, and if you are talking about electric, some 7 lakh, 8 lakh, which means that you are very trying to fraction. So, why you have to target the segment which is the smaller percentage and looking for a bigger range? Target the segment which is not really looking for that bigger range. And I don't think it's actually big problem right now. There are people purchasing and they're mostly happy with the range. And similarly, fast charging requirements also. I don't see these two things as a major drawback right now. The problem starts when you go very low end of the range, 40 kilometer, 50 kilometer. That actually starts creating a problem. You can't have an electric vehicle with 40 kilometers of range. It will create problem. You are supposed to go what? Go to a place and come back and then charge again, right? It doesn't work that way. Generally, you are good when you are having at least 1 week worth of range, right? So I think we are sorted in terms of range and charging infra. Not charging infra, that's a different discussion. But at least in point of range, what we are getting right now, majority of the places you are sorted.
Just like the skill required.
It's the battery, its range is one of the things, but it is the confidence of the battery performance. First is range, second is reliability, third is life, stability over a lifetime, which is creating this question mark because 40% of the cost of the vehicle to 60% of the cost. So it's not only range, it's a battery that is creating a doubt. We have to clear that doubt.
Battery is creating a doubt in terms of the replacement cost, in terms of the insurance, although I think manufacturers giving a larger warranty in factories now. 3 years is good enough, although it could be higher, some people talk 5-6 years in there. But it is much more than the range, and it's a very big issue. Anything in terms of technology, we have these IITs, you are from a product to IIT Roorkee, you work in IIT Chennai, so two IITs which talk a lot of things. Do you think that the industry academia interface is working on electric vehicles or it's just lip service? And I want to be frank on this.
Oh, I'll be more than frank. But before that, just one line I would like to add. When I was saying that range is not exactly a problem, that's what I was saying that Mr. Gill also said. Range is not the problem. The confidence is the problem. You need to have confidence in your product, right? You need to have confidence when you say that, okay, it's going to last another 20 kilometer or 10 kilometer, it should actually last another 10 kilometer, right? If your vehicle says that it will last another 20 and you are stranded, not going to. Very big problem.
Overcommitting can lead to problems.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people electric vehicles are saying this. When they buy a vehicle of IC engine, they say if they commit 15, we'll get 12. Highway will get 14, but city will get 12. But electric.
The electric also it is there, right? Because that is the way you test the vehicle. You say that, okay, ARAI certified range is this much, but practically it's going to be less than that. I personally drive electric car, so I know that. I use that. So that's not what I'm talking. What I'm talking is that whatever you have made your mind with, like that, okay, this vehicle is going to give me 40 kilometer range or 80 or 200, whatever it is, it should be in that range. The moment it falters, you lose confidence. And then you stop recommending others also. That is the tricky part. The product needs to have enough reliability. A little here and there, people actually understand it's a new technology. Everyone is okay with that. But when major problems are there, then people stop recommending to others. That's where the problem starts. Because right now vehicles are mostly sold by what? Word of mouth, right? I use a vehicle, so I recommend others that you also use because you see these are all the advantages. Now if there is a problem, I will not have the courage to do that, right? That's why that reliability part is very important.
So, you're talking of, our topic was stable and sustainable roadmap. So, it has gone down to stable and sustainable battery.
Okay.
That's an important part which is there, and that needs to be answered only. Coming to Mr. Deshmukh.
Let's answer that question because that is very interesting. Because see, a lot of people talk about industry, academia, collaboration, whether it is useful or not, etc., etc., etc. Greentech actually is the biggest example of that. That's how we started. We were incubated. Incubation is a very generic thing. Leave that, that's not important. What I'm trying to say is, we work with IIT Madras, with a lab. We develop all our technology there together. And that is the reason that today Greentech is still being much smaller company. We are still only 100 people team. But we have already developed any type of electric vehicle battery. Be it car, bus, truck, everything. That is the prime example how it should be. And you know what? The money of that also has not exactly come from government, mostly not come from government. It has actually come from industry. And those industries are actually going to get it back because now they have an option in India to get a high quality battery for their LCV, car, bus, truck, everything. Why is that happened? Because a small contribution was made by many OEM to IIT. That money came back to a startup, and then that startup developed all that technology, and now they are ready to serve all those companies back, right? So it's the cycle that is.
So you think the relationship between academia and industry started working?
It is working.
In a scale of 1 to 10, where does it start today?
We are definitely not the best in the world. Far away from that.
So on a scale of 1 to 10?
Maybe. Especially few universities. It's really working out.
On a weighted average on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll keep that question on and on. You have to give me a figure.
In my case, I will put it 10 on 10.
10 on 10.
In my case,
I was very surprised.
India is a very big country.
It's okay 10 to 10 because you are a manufacturer. So, is there a good interaction happening with academia and industry for development? It's good to talk about key parties or etc. Is it happening? So, it's not happening. Then, आपके point से क्या है? Is it happening?
I think there are some islands, it is islands of success where it is happening, but by and large, you say it is far from.
So, you have two different views. You said it's happening. You are very hopeful.
No, I said it's happening in my case. So exactly
No,
what?
no, we want to. You have view on the entire case.
Okay, if you like you said, there are some islands successful, really great, but overall, definitely we are not there. We are
So,
far away from there.
educational institutions, the IITs, the regional colleges, the diploma colleges, the ITIs, the Skill Development Council, it has to be 360. So unless that happens, it doesn't happen. From that perspective, what do you see? We are taking all the stakeholders in the entire training, skilling, development basis or design development basis.
Yeah, so I think while industry has moved forward, academy has not really moved that much.
Okay, so so the older academician from IIT Bombay batch says, "Abhi manzil bahut dur hai, Delhi bahut dur hai," which is that is part of it. Now we come to the last round. This is we come to each panelist. This is more like I would call it a rapid fire round, not a rapid fire round in that sense. So don't take it like what Karan Johar got KL Rahul and Hardik Pandya into problems. That's not my idea and objective, and I am not Karan Johar at all. So starting with you. You are ready, sir? So two things which you think auto or EV companies must give up, and two things they must do if we have to have a sustainable future. And you're not talking about your company, we're talking of the EV manufacturers. Two things to give up. It's like syndrome, you give up these bad habits, and two things which you do positively as industry.
As we give up, one is the incentive.
So we should willingly give up the incentive.
It is going to happen.
Achha, nahi,
It is going to
so
happen.
are you recommending that we go to the government and take back the incentive?
Maybe not now, maybe after 1 year.
Okay.
It is going to
Do
happen.
you agree with that? This is you. So you can see he's saying that this company can follow that policy, I follow a different policy.
I am saying the logic behind that if you want to grow really, with the talk about 50 million, 20 million.
Give up incentive. Mindset is there. and
Mindset,
you
because we have
got- I think mindset
we
is
have
more
to change the
important.
mindset of the people. Because let me tell you one thing. When you talk about incentive or subsidy, the first thing comes in the mind of a consumer. It's a very low level thing. For example, when you talk about gas subsidy or something like that, people say that ये तो government ने देना ही देना है. So we have to change the mindset of the people. Then only we can sell big amount of. And second thing, if you ask me, the give up, we have to be work as a complete industry, as in all the stakeholders to work together, whether it is starting from the supplier till customer, and to bring more and more awareness about that. So those consortium we have to make so that this type of, maybe you can say, now the people talk about the competition.
So when you say give up, that means we are not working together in that manner.
Yeah, we have to work.
Yeah, that means we are not working.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We have to work.
So that is something which is there. We have to give up the silo strategy that we are doing. Maybe
It is
it is
not
there
only
for
for individual. So we have to,
companies and
we have to work as a.
Okay. And two things which we need to do as manufacturers, things which are the positive steps. to take.
I think for the
Or industry
for the industry level or for the especially for the Indian market, first is the quality product. We have to give a right quality product which will compete with the IC, so that the mindset of the people can change and they can benchmark that EV is also as good as the IC engine.
So that's one.
Yeah. And second thing is the quality, the right quality, the positioning of your product at the right cost, so that the people will go for it.
We have a slightly more difficult question for you, sir. Because you are more experienced, so I think good students deserve, more experienced students deserve. Two things which the government should stop doing, and two things the government should do to drive this. Is it a fair question or no? The audience agrees or no? No, please tell me by show of hands, otherwise I take the question back. Okay, a fair question, the audience is saying. Okay.
Okay, so I will not be allowed in the ministry henceforth.
Let's speak now. So you can use your words. I will not.
But yes, surely things are happening, but from the government side, still there are things which are missing. The transparency of a long term, whether it is good or bad, that transparency is not. For
Long term is
example,
not.
I ask Is the subsidy going to be shut off in 24? No answer. So one is this, that they should be very clear about this projection of what they want to do in the next few years. They should give up that opportunity. Second, they should give up talking ministry to ministry. They should get together and talk together. We talked to 7 of them, we have 7 news still. So we have to have at least one nodal ministry, maybe NITI Aayog. We put everybody together and then we talk to one. This is they should do.
So clearly you are saying one is having they should have the thought of being too short term, think long term. Because people have to invest technology, other things. And second is how to combine in nationalized banks we have moved into a single window concept, or dealerships also. So move to a single window concept. And 2 things which they should do.
Like, they should dream big along with us. They are dreaming big, but there are so much of dichotomies of dreaming big. Like sometimes we hear bulldoze करते हैं petrol गाड़ी को, but sometimes they say everybody has to coexist. No, there has to be one voice all over now. Industry says we are dreaming big, government says we are dreaming big, we have to make it happen. That should come in awareness, education, publicity, anything that they do, there should be one voice.
So who has to be the Zubeen Mehta who synchronize all these efforts? Because you need synchronization.
See, it has to be ultimately one person, not even one ministry. And we have those guys somewhere sitting there, and we have been seeing some sparks there. But unfortunately, people last only for 2 years.
So you need to
So we also need a person for 5 years in a position to take it up. And
or the
then
thought
take it.
is, the thought should continue if the person changes. I mean, English, a lot of people saying that when can we have 100% indigenous battery? For that, what are things you have to give up? And what are things you need to do? 100% and a good quality with the right price. It should not be quality such that you can't afford it. What are things you need to give up? And this is, when I say give up, it's not only you, battery manufacturers, it's also from your stakeholders, because you deal with manufacturers, you deal with R&D organizations, you deal with government bodies. So what needs to be given up? Looking from that perspective.
Okay. Probably we have to give up the oversimplification.
Huh?
Oversimplification.
Oversimplification.
That is the biggest problem always. So, relating to this, when you say 100% indigenous, there is nothing in this world that is actually 100% indigenous, right? You can make whatever you want. You make a laptop. Okay, your processor is coming from somewhere else, right? And that silicon is actually coming from somewhere else. It's not. So what I'm trying to say is, when you talk about battery, instead of saying 100% indigenous, basically try to find out what percentage of value addition has been done in India. Wherever you start, you are starting at 30%, 20%. Try to reach 90, 95, 99, 99.9, right? But talk in terms of that. Otherwise, right now, made in India batteries are also the one which are basically all coming from our neighbor country, all the part. You just do some assembly here and you call it Make in India battery. That's not Make in India battery, right? But then how will you tell the difference between that battery and the one
Is it
that
design and development and thought has to be made in India?
So basically define every step value addition, right? And then you add that. And then you can say, okay, this product has this much value addition in India. If you have that number, user can actually have a feeling of that, okay, what it is there, but more than that, your policy making will become better. You can actually define, okay, then you can say that this much percent of value addition should be done in India.
Okay. So this is something, what is things to be done from various stakeholders? 2 top things you think, these 2 things happen, then we are on the right course.
From whom?
From various stakeholders, from a battery perspective. Because
Okay.
you don't exist in isolation. Your fund managers, even your government, even your education institutions also, your policy governments also.
So first and most important is that, see, take it in this way. To take a new technology, always you have 2 approaches. Either you can have a top-down approach, means you can start with a best quality product at a high price, prove that, and then you come down. Or you can start at the lower end of the market where entry is easier because mass adoption is there, and then you go up. The bottom approach is generally better now because you look at our neighbor country. They are actually selling 40 million two-wheelers a year right now. We are dreaming of 15 million. They are selling 20 million, right? The disadvantage with that is when you start with that, you start with a lot of problem, and they are also acceptable because they also have around 0.025% incidents in there right now. That is okay to start, not okay, but okay, you are starting there. But what need to be done is start not accepting that and start having better quality product. Demand for a better quality product. And to do that, you need to invest in the R&D. That is something we generally don't do much.
So investing in R&D, which is low in India, a lot of R&D budgets you see of most companies are very low. So that's something investment and R&D, the investment starts from the mindset. Then the value
Exactly.
comes.
It's not only it's the mindset.
This is tough. Coming to Mr. Deshmukh, supply chain. Because nowadays you one word use everywhere. Supply chain is the villain. Ravan wo hai. Supply chain कारण में production नहीं हुआ. Whether you talk to the car manufacturers, whether you talk to the EV manufacturers. So two things we have to give up. If this supply chain, distortion has to not happen. It has to be more smooth. Because stable and sustainable means you don't have to have jerks. What are things you think required for that?
Well, I think we have to invest in technology to be independent. It is true that you can't have 100% local manufacturing. You have to depend on the globalized world. But there are some critical products or critical raw materials which are available in India. They need to be used, and there is some technology gaps. For example, I will take example of electric motors, drive motors that we make. 20 to 40% of the cost is magnets, which are made of rare earth. And 90% or 95% of rare earth in the world is mined in one country, in every country. So, at the same time, India is rich in rare earths. And in fact, there is a technology available in India, thanks to our nuclear program, when we mine thorium, a lot of other rare, the neodymium, which is the major part of magnets, it comes as a byproduct. We got huge stocks of those. But converting that into a magnet, there is some technology gap. And if we can overcome that, which is not a big thing, I think we have IITs and we have institutes, we have CSIR institutes. I think it is possible to focus on that, and we can actually not only become independent in magnet manufacturing, we can export. There's a huge demand there, not only in EVs but also the rest of the
So, one thing which was mentioned is that India is a big global player as far as exports is concerned. Do you see that as an opportunity also? Because EV, global exports?
Yeah, of course, because in future is going to.
Okay, so
Because
you prepare for that deal.
Yeah, of course.
So the 24 times doesn't take care of exports. Exports is added on. That's another. Now, what I liked about this was that most of the people were free, frank, and fearless in doing their views. Now they have to answer their promoters, their investors, or the government that they have to see, they have to manage. Now we'll take, before we get to question answer, because there was 10 minutes, we want figures. And everybody talks, it's always good to get figure out 2030. Because 2030 में तुम कहाँ, मैं कहाँ, वो कहाँ. So it's something like that. So let's talk of something more short term. We are in 2021-22. Now we are talking 25-26, which is 3 years down the line, which is 3.5 years down the line. So we'll take everybody's figure for 2025-26 for the electric two-wheelers, and we'll note it down for posterity's sake. And we'll open it up somewhere 3 years down the line, which is there. So starting with Nish, 2025-26 figure. Total electric two-wheeler market. In India, we are not taking exports. Exports will be bonus.
Okay, leave the export. 25-26, we are talking 3 years down.
3.5 years down the line.
Right?
Yes.
We should definitely reach in, let's say, about 4 billion, 3 to 4 billion.
4 billion. Okay. Coming from you, Mr. Zindagi. Yeah, one question we didn't answer. Sorry, I missed out before we come. Two-wheeler is all about motorcycles, scooters. Where is motorcycle in which? I have not seen motorcycles being manufactured. So is that a problem area?
I don't think so.
So it can be changed with technology.
And people are doing, even we are also working.
But
we will get.
in terms of volumes today, it's 95% scooters.
In the EV, as of today, I think more than 98%, 99 is scooter.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not there in the market.
That's right.
Once it comes in,
Okay.
so there is also logic.
Because-
That's why the scooter has come out. Because if you see in India, scooter is unisex. So the man and the woman can drive this. So people start with this. Of course, the motorcycle is a man-oriented. So of course, if you see in the, I see also the.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I can say, I remember when I started back in the mid-80s, motorcycles is 15% of the market. And today 60%. Okay, good. So we are coming, 4 million was the figure he mentioned. What is your figure, sir?
One is based on the motorcycle. We see the referral sales are from motorcycle to motorcycle. 30% of motorcycle buyers are buying electric now. Scooters. So it's like sort of a fungibility happening now. With that, and the figure from association and policy put together, there is one figure now which is coming in 3 years' time between 6 and 7 million. And also another thing,
6 million in 3 years.
that's right. And another thing that is coming is, if all goes right, people will ask questions to the guy who buy a petrol scooter, why have you bought?
Okay, so from your perspective, we take 2025, 26 million? From your figure, 4, 6. That's pretty progression you want 4, 6, 8, 10.
I think in my opinion it will be around 5 to 7 years.
Okay, so you're also somewhere around Mr. Gill says. Sorry, 6 million. From your perspective.
I'll go by the OEMs, customers.
But what does the OEM say? What do your OEM say?
I think this is a number which is
So, you know, you are the, yeah, tell me, the older generation is more austere on this than you. You are 4 million, now we are saying 6 million. So what?
See, why
I'm not questioning that, I'm just putting it.
No, there's no questioning, and we all are making some assumptions, and that assumption drives our numbers, right? So basically, you are seeing that I don't even think it's the price point that is the problem. The acceptance is increasing, but it's waiting for something. We heard that word, wait and watch. That's what is there. Market is actually looking for the product, but also they are wait and watch. Where that will change and people will start accepting will drive this number. Even if they start accepting 1 year down the line, you can't scale 4 to 5 times your production capacity in 2 years time. Not easy.
We will start now.
So if that acceptance starts today, probably numbers will be bigger than that. We just don't know where that acceptance will start.
Okay, so good. So if I take the figures, if we are talking something like 22 million, if you divide by 4, it's about 5.5 million we are talking of. But I think very valid point to say, this can only be done if all the enablers are put in place now. So we had a very interesting discussion. I mean, we thought from the customer perspective, we see from the manufacturer perspective, supply chain perspective, R&D, even government perspective. So all things, and what I understood and what Mr. Sundar mentioned is somehow we have to master game plan. Every stakeholder can't have its own strategy and own approach. Ultimately, they may have a sub-strategy, but has to combine together. But what I'm seeing is the enablers are there, the demand is there, the confidence is there, even the resources are there. Now, how you are making advantage of all this will be. So, one of the responsibility of this institute group is 3 years down the line, will they make history or become part of history? I believe they will make history. That's what my confidence is. So please give them a big hand.